Border Vigilantes was a 1941 Hopalong Cassidy movie that I just had the chance to watch, and it was a lot of fun. Features William Boyd as Hopalong, Russell Hayden as Lucky Jenkins, and Andy Clyde as California Carlson. And the story here is that outlaws have been robbing folks in a small town, and one of the locals has had enough, and he sends for his friend Hopalong to come and check it out. This is Dan Forbes, who is played by Morris Ankrum, and I think I caught him in the movie Rocketship X a long time ago. Anyhow, he suspects that there's some corruption with the local town vigilante committee, and he's the one that sends for help. But the bad guys catch on to this, and he gets shot. Thankfully, it's just in the arm, as those injuries tend to heal pretty quickly and easily in films like this. So Hoppy and his friends, they arrive into town, but on the outskirts of town, the bad guys are onto his arrival, and there's an ambush. But Hoppy outsmarts the bad guy and shoots Big Ed. And then they finally meet up with Dan at his ranch, and they also meet his lovely daughter Helen, who's played by Frances Gifford. And of course, Lucky falls instantly in love with her. And they meet up with Dan and they start to talk together. Hoppy suspects that the character Henry Logan might be the bad guy behind it all. And we, the viewer, know that probably that is the case because he's played by Victor Jory, who usually plays bad guys in films like this. Meanwhile, in a silly subplot, there's this older Aunt Jennifer, played by Ethel Wales, who mistakenly thinks that California is her long-lost love, for comedic effect, so she chases after him throughout the film. Hoppy and his crew, they head to town to check things out. They walk into a saloon and they, quote, make it look good and tough, and pretend to be the bad guys in town, not at all connected with Dan Forbes. They're just trying to get in with the bad guys and figure out what's going on. And as they leave, sure enough, there's a big attempted robbery by some other bad guys, and Hoppy steps in, and there's a lot of shooting. The story got a little confusing from time to time, but it doesn't really matter. It's a Hopalong Cassidy film. That night back at Dan's ranch, Helen sings a beautiful song to Lucky, who is, of course, totally in love. The ranchers always have the beautiful young daughter in these Hopalong films for Lucky to fall in love with. And, of course, Aunt Jennifer cozies up to California to listen to the music as well. California, however, is not interested in romance with Aunt Jennifer. Anyhow, back to the story. The next day, the raids and the robberies are continuing. Hoppy and Dan start to scheme and talk about it. Hoppy has an idea for a trap. They have this stagecoach set up with fake silver, and they're going to have it infiltrated by the bad guys. But the bad guys eventually kind of catch on to what's going on with Hoppy. They suspect a double cross, and the gig is up. Hoppy is made, so the bad guys kind of congregate to go after him. So here he is in the saloon. He's harmlessly trying to drink his sarsaparilla, and then all these bad guys come and face off with him, and there's this brief, tense scene as they're all ready to draw, when California shows up just in time to give enough of a distraction for Hoppy to shoot and kill all of them. Yeah! Meanwhile, the other bad guys have captured Lucky, and they plan to hang him. Well, Hoppy heads to the rescue, but will he make it in time? And will he survive the epic gun battle that wraps up this film? Well, check this one out and see for yourself. Some closing thoughts. I think this was the first Hopalong Cassidy film I've watched in a long time that had nothing to do with cattle rustling, or cattle at all for that matter. The main problem was that there was a scheming, corrupt group of vigilantes. And although there was no Gabby Hayes, who is my favorite, I have to admit, I do like Andy Clyde, and he makes a good, silly comic relief in the film. And plus, every time he does something goofy, you get to hear Hoppy's infectious laugh. It seems he's always laughing in these films, and that's good. It kind of adds a humanity to the old westerns. And I realize that these are probably all filmed in the same locations with the same sets somewhere in Southern California, but I don't care. They do always, to me, have this authentic, dusty, Old West feel to them. The small towns, the saloons, the ranches, and so on. I just like them. And the films I watch on this channel, they can't all be Citizen Kane or heady films like that. I need to balance my viewing with a steady diet of B-westerns too. So sure, the stories aren't necessarily that deep. They can be a little cheesy, but I don't mind. I really hope that I can watch all of these Hopalong Cassidy films. So that's Border Vigilantes from 1941. It's worth checking out.